Hey y'all, I'm on my way to work, but I'm gonna do a little bit of something to my face. While I talk to y'all about how I got my GLP-1 injection approved through my insurance, and I didn't have to pay nothing. When I go to the pharmacy, my copay is $0.00. Okay, I went to my primary care doctor, and I didn't tell her exactly that I wanted the GLP-1. I just told her, I want to lose some weight. I don't feel good. I don't like the way I look in the mirror and all that jazz. And my primary care doctor is very understanding. And she was like, okay, let's see what we can do. But first, let's do your examination and do some blood work to see where you're at. Like, she wanted to test my sugar. I said, okay. And we did the blood work. A couple of days later, she called me and she was like, you are borderline diabetic. I wasn't diabetic. I was like borderline, a couple of, like maybe 2 points away from being diabetic. And she was like, we're going to put you on metformin. And metformin is a drug that is good for diabetes. It also helps you lose weight, but it's to help your sugar, like your sugar goes down, lower it. And I was like, okay, I tried it for a couple of months and I didn't like the way it made my stomach feel. I felt sick all the time and I was going to the bathroom all the time. I hated the way it made me feel, just hated it. So I went back to her, I made another appointment. I went back to her and I was like, you know what, I can't keep taking this. I don't feel like it's doing anything per se, and I just don't like the way it makes me feel. So she wrote down, she always chart everything that I tell her, I always write it down. Then she was like, okay, let's try the GLP-1. But before that, let's do your blood over again. I did my blood over again, and I was taking that metformin religiously. Nothing moved, not even a little. It went up by 1 more point, and I was like, okay, it's not working. So she was like, I'm going to write you a prescription for the GLP-1. She wrote it and sent to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy was like, it's not approved. I was like, okay. So I called my insurance and I was like, hey, my doctor wrote me the injection, the GLP-1, and why is it not approved? And it was like, well, it's not for weight loss, it's for diabetes. And I was like, I understand that, but I'm pre diabetic. We're trying to prevent me from being diabetic. Okay? That's the whole reason of, you having insurance is to prevent shit. So they was like, well, we need notes from your doctor. We didn't receive that. And I was like, okay, just send them the request. So they sent it to them, and I waited a couple of days, and I called my doctor's office. I said, did y'all receive any notes from the insurance? Like, they wanted notes. It was like, no, we didn't receive it. So I was like, okay. So I called the insurance, and it was like, we did send it to them. Now they were playing back and forth game. I said, you know what? Send it to me, because I work in a doctor's office. I don't work for my primary, but I work at a doctor's office, and then it's my insurance. And if I ask you something, they have to send it to you. It's your insurance. If you want to know something, they have to tell you. Whatever you ask them, they have to send it to you. I know that because I work at a doctor's office, and I talk to insurance all day. And they sent it to me. They sent me the request, and I went to my doctor's office physically. And I said, I need notes from this day, that day. And I know my doctor was charting everything. She was writing everything I was saying. And plus, in my family, I have a history of diabetes. My dad is diabetic. And I also had diabetes during my second pregnancy. And all of that is in my paperwork. So just because I don't have diabetes right now, I'm pre-diabetic. I have a family history, a very close family history, which is my dad. Like, he needs to be on insulin. And I had all that history, and I was like, there's no way this is not going to be covered, because it was $1,000, 1,000 and something dollars and change. I don't have that kind of money. So I got the notes for the 2 visits that I went, and I went back to the office that I work at, and I sent it to them myself. And plus, I gave the doctor's office the request And I said, can you send them this note? So if they sending it and I'm sending it on my end, there's no way that you can tell me you didn't receive it. So I waited a couple of days. I called the insurance company. I said, did you receive the paperwork? They said, yes, we received it. I said, okay, cool. They said, yeah. I said, okay, cool. So they was like, well, now we have to send it for it to be determined if it's going to get approved or not. I said, okay. Now, mind you, at my second visit, I told my doctor that I was feeling dizzy because at one point I was. Was I feeling dizzy all the time? No. But there was one day I felt dizzy. What? I'm gonna tell her everything that I'm feeling so that way mine can get covered. So a couple of days went by. I didn't hear nothing, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a week. So a week went by, and I got a call from Walmart, who is my pharmacy, and not a call, they text me. They said, your prescription is ready for pickup. I was like, I know it's ready for pickup. I can't afford it. So I called Walmart, and I was like, I know the prescription is ready for pickup. I can't afford it. I'm waiting for my insurance to approve it. And they was like, no, it's approved. The copay is $0. I said, $0? What? So I called the insurance company, and for them to like tell me, I just want to know, because when something is approved, they'll tell you how long they're gonna pay for it. And I spoke to them. They was like, well, due to your history and your family history, in the blood work that shows that you're pre-diabetic, they went ahead and approved it. And it said it was approved for like, I think 3 years. I was like, wait a minute. Okay. So yeah, that's how my insurance paid for my GLP-1. And I know that not everybody is pre-diabetic or has diabetes in their family, but if you go to your doctor and complain to them that you feeling dizzy, I'm not telling you to lie, but tell them exactly how you feel. You never know, you might get approved, you might not, but you won't know unless you try. Okay, because I could have tried to figure out how to get that money to get it the medication approved, but I knew that with my family history and my own history, that I knew I could get it approved. I knew what codes to use simply because I work at a doctor's office. I knew that if there was certain codes on my chart that it would get approved. So that's why I fought so hard for it to be approved. So that's how I got it approved. Bye.